The first time the words landed, they felt like a verdict being read in a silent courtroom, heavy and final, the kind that steals the air from your lungs before you even understand what crime you've been accused of. Fired. Just like that. In a gleaming office high above the city, a single father who had spent years holding his life together with discipline, faith, and exhaustion, felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. He didn't shout. He didn't beg. He just stood there, carrying a quiet weight that no one in that room seemed to notice, the weight of a child waiting at home and a future that suddenly felt terrifyingly uncertain. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that the smallest moments can change a life forever, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this only matter if they reach hearts that are still open. His name was Daniel, and for the last 5 years, his entire world had revolved around balance. Balance between work deadlines and school pickups, between sleepless nights and early mornings, between grief and responsibility. After his wife passed away from a sudden illness, Daniel learned quickly that grief did not wait for permission. Bills still arrived. His young daughter still needed lunches packed, stories read at bedtime, and someone to promise her that tomorrow would be okay. So Daniel showed up, every day. He took a junior operations role at a powerful investment firm owned by a billionaire known for his sharp instincts and cold reputation. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and stability was everything when you were raising a child alone. Daniel was the kind of employee most managers forgot to praise because he never caused problems. He came early, stayed late, fixed issues before they became visible, and never complained. His lunches were simple, often leftovers wrapped carefully at dawn, and his phone wallpaper was a smiling photo of his daughter on her first day of school, a reminder of why he pushed himself so hard. Yet behind the calm routine was constant anxiety. One missed paycheck could mean rent trouble. One medical bill could unravel everything. Still, he carried himself with quiet dignity, believing that integrity would protect him in the long run. The day everything changed began like any other. The city buzzed outside the glass building, indifferent and fast, while Daniel sat at his desk finalizing reports with the same careful attention he always gave. When the message came that the owner wanted to see him immediately, his stomach tightened. The billionaire rarely called in employees personally, especially not those far from the executive floor. Daniel wiped his hands on his trousers, straightened his jacket, and walked toward the elevator, unaware that his entire life was about to tilt. The office at the top floor was expansive and immaculate, designed to impress and intimidate. The billionaire sat behind a desk that looked more like a command center than furniture, eyes sharp, posture relaxed in a way that suggested absolute control. The words came quickly, delivered with professional detachment. Daniel was being let go. No explanation, no warning, just a statement that his services were no longer needed. For a moment, the room felt unreal, like a scene from someone else's life. Daniel thought of his daughter's school shoes that were wearing thin, the rent due next week, the promise he had made to always protect her. His chest tightened, but he didn't let it show. What happened next was not what the billionaire expected. Daniel didn't argue or demand reasons. He didn't plead for time or mercy. He simply took a breath, nodded, and thanked the man for the opportunity he had been given. There was no bitterness in his posture, only a quiet acceptance that felt heavier than anger ever could. He explained calmly that he would make sure all his current responsibilities were transitioned properly before leaving, because unfinished work had consequences for others. That sense of responsibility, even in the face of personal disaster, was something the room had rarely seen. As Daniel left the office, the polished floors and distant city skyline blurred slightly. He felt the familiar urge to panic rising, but years of parenting alone had taught him how to swallow fear and keep moving. He packed his desk carefully, folding each item with the same care he used at home. A coworker watched silently, unsure what to say. When Daniel finally stepped outside, the sunlight felt harsh, almost mocking. He stood on the sidewalk for a long moment, breathing deeply. Reminding himself that his daughter needed calm, not collapse. That evening, Daniel walked home instead of taking the bus, needing time to think. The city around him was alive with noise and movement, people rushing toward dinners, meetings, lives that felt secure. He rehearsed what he would say to his daughter, how he would explain that things might be different for a while but that she was safe. He cooked dinner as usual, helped with homework, listened to her talk about her day. Only after she fell asleep did the weight finally crash down. He sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by silence, and allowed himself a few quiet moments of despair. The following days were a test of endurance. Daniel updated his resume late at night, applied for positions early in the morning, and tried to keep routines unchanged for his daughter. Rejection emails arrived quickly, polite and impersonal. Savings began to look dangerously thin. Still, he refused to let frustration turn into resentment. He volunteered at his daughter's school, helped neighbors when he could, and kept believing that effort mattered even when outcomes were uncertain. What he didn't know was that someone had been watching all along. The billionaire, known publicly for ruthless decisions, had not forgotten the encounter. In fact, Daniel's reaction had unsettled him. Over years of running a vast empire, he had seen every version of desperation, entitlement, and anger, but rarely had he seen quiet responsibility in the face of loss. The firing had been a test, one designed to reveal character under pressure, and Daniel had passed in a way no data sheet ever could. Investigations followed quietly. Background checks, conversations with managers, even a discreet visit to the neighborhood where Daniel lived. The picture that emerged was consistent, a man who did the right thing even when no one was watching. Weeks later, when Daniel least expected it, another message arrived. A request to return to the same building, to the same top floor. His heart pounded as he stepped into the elevator again, unsure whether hope or disappointment waited at the top. The office looked the same, but the atmosphere felt different. This time, the billionaire spoke at length. He explained that leadership was not about profit margins alone, but about the people who carried companies forward quietly. He admitted that the firing had been deliberate, a test to see what kind of man Daniel was when everything was taken away. The next words changed everything. Daniel was offered not just his job back, but a promotion with stability, flexibility, and a future he had not dared to imagine. More than money, it was the recognition that integrity mattered. That single moment of grace validated years of quiet sacrifice. Daniel accepted with gratitude, not triumph, because he understood how rare such second chances were. Life didn't become perfect overnight, but it became hopeful. Daniel moved into a better apartment closer to his daughter's school. He no longer had to choose between overtime and attending school events. He taught his daughter, not through speeches but through example, that character is revealed in hardship, not comfort. The billionaire, in turn, found something he hadn't known he was missing: respect for the quiet strength that holds families and communities together. Just before we reach the end of this story, take a moment to comment below and share what you believe matters more in life, success, or character. Your words might inspire someone reading them right now. As time passed, Daniel never forgot the fear of that day, nor did he romanticize it. He understood that tests like these were risky and that not everyone had the safety net to survive them. That awareness made him compassionate, both as a colleague and as a leader. He advocated for fair treatment, flexible policies, and support systems for parents who were struggling silently, just as he once had. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness and integrity still have a place in a harsh world, please like the video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who are hanging on by a thread, waiting for proof that doing the right thing still matters. In the end, this was never just a story about a billionaire or a test. It was about a single father who chose dignity over despair, responsibility over resentment, and love over fear. And sometimes when the world sees that choice clearly enough, everything changes.